Ever felt like you need, well, not a superpower like flight, but something internal, like a bedrock of mental toughness?
Yeah, something that lets you stand firm no matter what life throws at you.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving deep into today, how to build a mind that's so strong it almost commands this unique kind of respect.
And what's really interesting here, I think, is that it's not about showing off power outwardly. It's about developing this really profound inner resilience.
Building that internal fortress, yeah. So you can navigate challenges with, well, resolve.
Precisely.
Our source for this deep dive is a story called Build a Mind So Strong It Scares People. And it focuses on this young boy, Kian.
Right. Lives in a small mountain town.
Yeah. And he was quiet, observant, often kind of lost in thought. And because of that, people tended to overlook him.
Underestimated him, even mocked him sometimes.
But Kian didn't react by, trying to be loud or seeking approval. He went inward. He started this incredible journey to forge this unshakable mental strength.
And it's important to get the context there. The story really shows how sometimes society just misreads quietness or introversion as weakness.
Absolutely. Kian's initial struggles really highlight that exact point.
Yeah.
There's this really pivotal moment described in his class. He just freezes, can't answer a simple question.
Oh, that feeling, yeah.
And that feeling of inadequacy, it just washes over him. He ends up in tears. But that moment, that perceived weakness, it becomes the spark.
It ignites this really powerful desire for inner change. That feeling, while awful, often is a catalyst, isn't it?
Totally.
And what's significant is how he processes it.
Hmm.
His father shares this analogy about a strong tree.
The one that endures the wind, the storms.
Exactly. And it gives him this simple but honestly profound metaphor. You build inner strength through adversity, through the pressure.
It's not about dodging the storms.
No, it's about becoming the kind of tree that can endure them.
And that image clearly resonated deeply with Kian that very night. He writes in his journal,
Gets it down on paper.
Build a mind so strong it scares people. Which is such a potent mission statement, right? Especially from a boy seen as weak.
It really is. And it wasn't about actually scaring people like intimidation.
No, it was about achieving this inner power that commands a different kind of respect. A recognition of spirit.
Absolutely. That declaration right there, it marks this crucial shift. He's moving from just reacting to things to actively, intentionally shaping his inner world.
And that journal entry becomes his guidepost, really.
It does.
And his first steps, they're so relatable, not huge dramatic changes.
No grand gestures.
Just these small, consistent acts of courage. Raising his hand in class, even if he was nervous.
Reading aloud, practicing speaking in the midden, even with a shaky voice.
Yeah. Those tiny steps, repeated over and over, they start building this foundation of confidence.
And that really shows a key insight, doesn't it? Building strength isn't usually about giant leaps. It's the accumulation of small wins. Consistently pushing your comfort zone just a little bit. Courage, like Kian shows us, isn't not being afraid.
Right. It's acting despite the fear.
Exactly. And he was proactive, too.
Yeah.
Reading books about the mind, confidence, even physical training. It shows it's multifaceted, this resilience thing.
And the fundamental shift in his focus, that's huge. He stops worrying so much about external approval.
What others think.
Yeah. And turns inward. He starts fighting what he calls the war inside his mind.
That's a powerful image. It's this internal struggle he's committed to winning. It really highlights that true strength often starts by tackling your own inner limitations, your own doubt.
Precisely. That internal focus is where the real lasting strength grows. External validation, it's fickle.
Totally dependent on others.
Mm-hmm.
But inner conviction, that self-mastery, that's stable, reliable.
And you start to see the results. Others begin to perceive him differently. They sense this quiet power.
Mm-hmm. There's that great anecdote. A former bully comes up to him.
Right, and that's what happened to you, man. You're different.
And Kian's reply is just perfect. So simple, yet profound.
I met the wind.
Chills. It just encapsulates his whole transformation through the very adversity he used to dread. That one line says so much about how challenges forge us.
It really does. It shows such insight for someone his age. He understood his journey.
Yeah, he got it. The role pressure played in building his strength. It's concise, almost poetic.
And then there's this practice he develops, the mirror test.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
Well, it was this daily thing, looking himself right in the eye in the mirror and consciously giving himself stronger affirmations.
Talking to himself, essentially.
Exactly. It sounds simple, maybe, but that consistent self-talk, intentionally building a positive internal narrative, it has a huge impact on self-belief. You're actively shaping how you see yourself.
That mirror test is such a clear example of the power of, well, conscious self-perception. By affirming those desired qualities again and again, he's basically retraining his inner voice.
Replacing the doubt with assurance.
Right. It just highlights how much our thoughts about ourselves really do shape our actions and our sense of strength.
And he doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either. He actively works on his weaknesses, studies public speaking.
Records his voice, which most people hate doing.
Right. To find areas to improve, he consciously confronts the things that make him uncomfortable.
Which is facing your vulnerabilities, isn't it? Not ignoring them. True growth often happens right there, at the edge of discomfort.
That willingness to face discomfort, that's such a key trait of mental resilience. Growth rarely happens when we're comfortable.
No, it's usually at the edge of what we think we can handle. That's where we expand. Keenan's actions show this real commitment to continuous improvement, addressing weaknesses head on.
And it works. Remember that encounter with the older students, the ones who tried to mock him?
Yes, and his reaction.
Just calm, controlled. He says something about silence being a form of control, and it completely disarms them.
Left them speechless. It wasn't aggression, not defensiveness, just this quiet, self-assured confidence. He didn't need the last word.
He chose how to engage or not engage.
That moment really shows his evolving grasp of power. He's not just reacting anymore. He's choosing his response. True self-mastery.
And his journal entry from that night nails it. Real strength is not about muscles or words. It's about control.
The power to choose your response. The ability to stay calm when chaos surrounds you. That understanding inner control is the source of real strength. That's a huge takeaway.
That principle, choosing your response amidst chaos, it's so central. And as Kian's inner strength grows, you see him kind of pull back
from the superficial stuff.
Yeah, the dramas, the trivial things that occupy a lot of his peers. They just don't hold his interest anymore. His priorities are shifting. Inner growth over external noise.
And that distancing, it isn't necessarily about being antisocial, I don't think. It seems more like a natural result of understanding his own values better.
Knowing what matters to him.
Right. He's choosing substance, self-cultivation, over just fleeting social stuff or needing approval. It shows this growing self-awareness and inner compass.
And he really embraces solitude. Recognizes that being okay, standing alone, comfortable in your own skin, is vital for inner power.
Mm-hmm.
He sets up these pretty rigorous routines, waking up early, journaling, reading, running.
And personal rules too, right? Like no social media early, no complaining.
Yeah. And he sees them not as punishments, but as promises to the unbreakable version of himself. They're intentional practices, forging discipline.
Those routines are the framework, aren't they? They
Right.
instill that discipline, reinforces commitment. They're acts of self-respect, really, building that strong mind consistently,
Even when no one's watching.
especially then.
Yeah.
That's the testament to the inner strength.
It's fascinating how the story points out that the world mostly just sees the results, his good grades, getting into that leadership camp.
And they chalk it up to luck or talent.
Right. They don't see the years of quiet work, the countless small acts of discipline that got him there. It just underlines how the process of building strength is often invisible.
That's such a common thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
People underestimate the sheer effort, the discipline, the dedication behind big achievements, the overnight success myth.
Totally.
Kian's journey is such a powerful reminder that real success, real strength, it's usually built brick by quiet brick, internally unseen.
But then at that leadership camp, his quiet strength really comes to the forefront.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, his team is apparently just chaotic, disorganized, but Kian, without being loud or bossy.
Doesn't demand control.
No. His calm presence, his strategic thinking, it just gradually guides them, and they end up becoming the top team. His influence comes from that well-developed mind, not force.
That's a fantastic example of how real influence can come from inner clarity, not outward dominance. He earns their respect through his approach, his calm under pressure, his insights.
It's not by just being the loudest.
Definitely not. Effective leadership isn't always about volume.
And the instructor notes his presence. That's the word used.
Presence, yeah.
And Kian gets it. He thinks you don't get presence by being loud. You get it by being solid.
That inner stability, that's what commands attention, respect. It's not about seeking the spotlight. It's radiating this quiet confidence people naturally respond to.
That's such a deep insight. True presence isn't performance. It comes from that internal strength, that self-awareness, that conviction. It just emanates.
And his journal entry from around then really drives it home. Alone is not empty. It is full of truth. I am not lonely. I am aligned.
Wow.
If the price of strength is silence, I will pay it every day.
Yeah.
It shows how much he embraced that solitude as vital for power and clarity.
Then things take a sharp turn, what the story calls the collapse.
Right, the crisis.
Sudden, devastating news. His father has a critical heart condition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this intense, unexpected crisis becomes the ultimate test of all the strength Kian's been building. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
This is the crucible, isn't it? It's one thing to handle everyday stuff.
Yeah.
But a real crisis, especially with family, that reveals the true depth of your inner resources. Abstract ideas become very real, very fast.
And for the first time in ages, that old fear creeps back in.
Understandably.
He starts questioning his strength. What's the point if it can't protect the people he loves? It's such a raw human reaction. Shows even the strongest aren't immune to fear, to vulnerability.
That vulnerability is key. Because true strength isn't about not feeling fear. It's about acknowledging it, understanding it, and then choosing how to respond without being controlled by it.
And that memory of the tree, his dad's words, it comes back to him then.
An anchor, reminding him that strength endures, even in the fiercest storms.
Exactly. He has this profound realization. This crisis, this fear, this is the wind his father talked about. This is the real test. And his strength isn't about being emotionless. It's about not letting those powerful emotions paralyze him.
So what does he do?
We see him taking these grounded, purposeful actions. At the hospital, he's caring for his mother, helping the nurses where he can, even reading medical books about the condition.
Shifting focus from his own fear to practical support and understanding.
Yes. His actions really show that resilience in action. Instead of panic or despair, he channels that energy into something constructive, supportive. It's the practical application of mental strength.
A really powerful demonstration.
And thankfully, his father recovers. But Kian still faces challenges. He's fallen behind in school. Friendships have kind of drifted while he was focused elsewhere.
New hurdles?
But he doesn't give in to self-pity. He doesn't complain. He just uses those routines, that discipline he built.
Gets back to work?
Yeah. Catches up academically, no excuses, no seeking sympathy. Just gets it done. Remarkable fortitude.
And that really highlights the long-term value of those habits he built. Discipline isn't just for self-improvement. It's the framework for navigating life's ups and downs, for overcoming setbacks.
Then he gives this presentation at an academic conference, and his message is incredibly powerful.
What does he say?
He says, "Fear is the mirror that shows you who you really are. And pain is the gate you pass through to meet your highest self."
Wow. That's a total reframing.
Isn't it? Seeing these tough emotions not as negatives, but as opportunities for self-discovery, for growth. That perspective shift really shows how far his mental strength has developed.
That's deep. Viewing fear and pain not as obstacles, but as, well, sources of self-knowledge, catalysts for evolution.
And then there's that anecdote later. A girl admits he kind of scares her.
Oh, interesting. How does he handle that?
His reply is so insightful. He suggests maybe it isn't fear exactly, but respect. Respect for someone who has walked through fire and didn't burn.
That's profound. He reframes the fear not as intimidation, but as this recognition of his resilience, his hard-won strength.
Exactly. It shows the strength he built isn't about dominating people. It's about enduring and emerging stronger. And then he adds something to his original journal entry. Underneath, "Build a mind so strong it scares people," he adds.
What does he add?
"But never let that strength become arrogance. Let it become light for others lost in the dark."
Oh, that's beautiful. A real evolution.
Isn't it? From a perhaps more self-focused goal initially, to recognizing his inner power can be a guide, a support for others.
That addition shows this growing empathy, this sense of responsibility. Strength isn't just for him anymore. It's directed outwards too. That's real maturity.
So as the years go by, Ken becomes this respected young man, not famous, not seeking the limelight.
Just quiet influence.
Yeah.
Consistent character.
Right. And he visits his old school.
Yeah.
Sees this lonely boy on a bench, looking kind of like he used to.
A full circle moment.
Totally. It really shows his growth, the wisdom he's gained. He sees his past self.
And he interacts with the boy.
Yeah, quietly, gently. Gives him some simple advice about building inner strength, just one thought at a time.
Accessible. Wise. Based on his own journey.
And his later journal entries show even more depth. Thinking of the mind as a kingdom you have to rule. Seeing true strength as inner peace.
So it's moved beyond just enduring challenges. It's about cultivating inner tranquility.
Exactly. A really mature, nuanced understanding of power. Internal mastery. Emotional regulation. Peace as the ultimate strength. Deep self-awareness.
Psychological insight, really.
And then he takes it a step further. He starts giving back actively. Creates this volunteer program, Inner Fortitude.
Aimed at who?
Other quiet, misunderstood students. Kids facing similar challenges to the ones he faced. It's not about making mini Kians.
No, it's about empowerment.
Yeah.
Helping them find their own strength.
Exactly. It's a big step. From personal growth to actively helping others build theirs.
And his approach in the program is interesting, too. He doesn't just give answers.
No, he asks questions. Introspective questions. gets them to do their own digging, tap into their own resources. He's more of a facilitator.
Guiding them on their own paths.
And you see the impact. Kids overcoming panic attacks, turning their grades around. His explanation to a teacher is great, too. He says his method is teaching them to become the person they needed when they felt lost.
Fostering self-reliance.
Yeah.
Inner guidance.
Equipping them with the tools to navigate their own challenges, but find strength within themselves no matter what's happening externally. That fosters real sustainable growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this moment near the end, Hana asks him why. What's his motivation?
And his answer.
He talks about building strong minds to withstand a world that, well, often tries to break them. It really hits the core of why this inner work is so crucial, so universal.
Cultivating resilience in a tough world, and his motivation comes from really understanding those pressures, the focus on external validation. He's helping build this protective inner framework.
And the story wraps up with Kian finding this deep sense of inner peace. Understanding his true legacy isn't fame.
No.
It's how his presence, his quiet strength, has subtly influenced others for the better. The ripple effect.
That's a really beautiful, meaningful view of legacy. The quiet influence, the positive changes you inspire, just by how you are, the impact of character, of inner strength.
So, reflecting on Kian's whole journey, what are the big takeaways here?
Well, you see the immense power of that dedicated inner work, the vital role of discipline.
The need to confront fears to actually grow.
Finding strength in solitude, surprisingly perhaps for some, and of course resilience, navigating those life storms.
And these aren't just ideas, right? Kian's life shows them in action.
Definitely. And it's so important to repeat. The goal isn't to become intimidating.
No.
It's about developing this inner steadiness, this clarity, this quiet confidence that earns respect naturally, and maybe even inspires others. Kian shows that real power comes from within.
Absolutely. His story is really an invitation, isn't it? For all of us to look at our own journey of building mental strength.
Yeah. What small, consistent things are you doing daily to build your own fortitude?
How are you learning to face your own wins, those adversities? What inner battles are you choosing to fight?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, kind of echoing the end of the story. Think about the impact of a whispering fire of inner strength.
Compared to loud, flashy displays of power.
Right. What quiet, consistent efforts are you cultivating inside? Those internal whispers that hold the potential for real, lasting change for you and maybe for others too.
Powerful questions. Building a strong mind, it's not a destination, is it? It's an ongoing journey.
Always evolving. Self-discovery, cultivation.
And Kian's story gives us such a compelling, really inspiring roadmap for that journey. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.